Good morning, and welcome back to Other Worlds Wednesday here on Gaming with ADHD. Today I'm going to continue my review of the Shadowrun Core Magic Rulebook, Street Wyrd, for Sixth World. Now, last week we talked about the traditions and organizations found in the book, and I will have that linked down below in the description. But today we're going to take a look at the new rules added for Adepts and Initiates. Next week, we will finish off this review by taking a look at the new spells and spirits available in the book, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on the book as a whole. But before we get started, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I am trying to cover all sorts of tabletop gaming subjects and would love it if you came along. In addition, if you are interested in this book, there is an affiliate link in the description to DriveThruRPG, which is where I purchased the book myself. And if you choose to purchase this or any other PDF, it does actually kick back a small amount to me, which I can use towards purchasing other PDFs for further reviews and further content for developing the channel. But with that out of the way, let's continue our look at Street Wyrd for Shadowrun Sixth World. So, if you didn't watch the first video, we'll just do a quick overview of the book. It was released by Catalyst Game Labs in 2021. It is 167 pages long. It is available in both print and PDF, either from Catalyst Game Labs, their shop directly, for $44.99 for the print version or $19.99 for the PDF, or on DriveThruRPG for $19.99 in PDF only. This is the second rulebook for Shadowrun Sixth World after Firing Squad, which was released in 2020. So, a couple of highlights about the book. First off, it is an expansion of the magic rules from the core rulebook. So it doesn't replace any of the rules. It doesn't invalidate any of those rules. It just gives you more things to do with a magic-based character. It does have rules for custom spells, expanded spirit companions, more adept abilities, alchemy, new magic traditions, initiates, magical groups, both how to create and existing groups, dark magics such as blood magic and insect spirits and shamans. Now, one thing I do want to point out going into this portion of the review, I did not look at this review from a balance perspective. To me, I'm looking at what is the content that's been presented and does it make me more excited about playing the game? Does it make me want to invest more in the setting that they have continued to develop with Shadowrun Sixth World? So that's my approach to doing this review. I do know, especially with Adepts, there have been some controversies in the past about balance, things like that. Like I said, I'm not really looking at the rules like that, but I do hope you get something out of the review regardless. So, to start off is the chapter Force and Grace, which is the chapter about adepts. Now, in the core book, I don't know why it went in that direction. So first off, it expands the adept rules. In the core rulebook, you got 22 adept powers, and they were mostly physical adept in focus. So adepts are basically magic imbued characters that don't look at how to cast spells or astrally project. All they want to do is take that magic, channel it internally, and use it. I'd consider it more like, say, like an Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of a thing. Use it to enhance and power their combat abilities. But with Street Wyrd, you actually get to expand it with the introduction of adept ways. the adept ways basically allow the players to focus their adept into something beyond just the physical adept. There's the artisan, the artist, the athlete, the beast, the burnout, the invisible way, the magician's way, the speaker, and the warrior. So these are all different aspects that are available to the adepts. So one example, where did that go? So they actually take a couple of pages to talk about how these different ways actually work. Like this. The artisan's way is for those who, and bear with me here, like to do things with stuff. They like to make gadgets, improve upon gadgets, tinker with gadgets, design, engineer, and manipulate hardware and software. So, it gives you a way to focus those magical abilities towards creation, towards building things, towards doing things with your gadgets. So, they actually will get bonuses towards, in this case, they get to pick one, either biotech, cracking, electronics, engineering, or piloting. Now, that basically, that's just one example. Obviously, they're all different. Burnout is a mage who burned themselves out and no longer has normal access to their natural magical abilities, but have had to find ways to reconnect with magic and regain those abilities. So it's definitely a bit more fun as far as that's concerned. Now, each of the ways give a player character a different way to resist drain. The normal way to resist drain for an adept is a combination of, I apologize for this. Okay, it's body and willpower. That's the normal way to resist the magic drain. But the ways allow you to get a different attribute. So going back to the artisans, they actually get to use logic instead of their willpower attribute. Then, in addition, most of the ways allow you to add a wild die to checks for anywhere from 1 to 5 different skills. So sometimes you have to pick one when you choose the way that you're going to go down. Sometimes you have access to 2 or 3 at all times. So for the artisan, like I said, it's biotech, cracking, electronics, engineering, or piloting. And when you choose that way, that's when you actually will select which skill it applies to. But then you also get to choose whether or not you're going to use your way every time you make a roll. You don't have to throw that wild die in every time, because with the wild die on a success, it actually counts as 3 successes. Whereas a glitch actually ends up costing you more successes than it normally would. So sometimes it's going to be a safe roll and you don't want to add it in. But you still get that bonus by selecting a way. Now, in Street Wyrd, they add 44 new powers to the adepts. In the core rulebook, you get 22 powers. And so they've basically added, 200% more. So we're now up to about 66 different powers just for the adepts. Most of them do seem to be combat based. There are a couple that I really liked. I really liked cosmetic control. Basically, you get to shape change your meta type. You get to select up to 2 levels of this power. And in the first level, you don't get to change your meta type, but you can change what you look like. So if you're an elf and you have pointy ears, well, when you change shape, you're still going to have pointy ears, and you're still going to be an elf. But maybe you're going to be a taller elf, a darker toned elf, different color eyes, hair, things like that. So things that are more cosmetic in nature. If you go up to the second level on that power, then you actually can completely change your meta type. Now, if you're we'll call it a human-sized character, you can actually shift down to be a dwarf or up to be a troll if that's what you want to do. If you're already a troll, you can shift down to a human, but you can't shift all the way down to a dwarf. So there are some limitations there. And the way that it describes it is you can also change the meta type. So you don't, if you're a troll, you can change to look like an elf. Now these are not illusory magic, so it's not just that somebody can see through it. You physically are that particular meta type. Your clothes are still the same. Everything is still the same. It is physically you. All of your stats are still the same, but you look like someone else. So I really like this one just because, especially with Shadowrun and having to sneak in and things like that. Maybe you need to impersonate a wage slave or something and get into the corporation to steal the data. Whatever it is, this is kind of a fun way to do it. I don't know. I like that one. I like the addition there. The other one that I liked was Living Focus, which allows an adept, because they don't actually have spells themselves, to actually help the mage in the group. So say he's casting something that needs to remain active, he can the adept can actually use his powers to take this spell and imbue it with power so that it remains active, so that the mage can do other things. So it's a nice way to promote teamwork. And then 3-dimensional memory, basically it allows you to use your magic to memorize an area. Basically it affects everything that you can see. So one of the descriptions talks about, maybe you go into a closet, or maybe you don't look in a closet. Well, when you go to recall the information, you're not going to know what's in the closet because you didn't bother opening the closet door. But basically you get to focus your powers into sort of a photographic memory, but for an area as opposed to a picture. So sort of like, being able to replay the information like you were on a holodeck, being able to recreate the information and see or remember what's there. So you need to sneak into the corporate headquarters and as which you did with your cosmetic control. And so you get in as the janitor because they think you're the janitor, and then you can use your 3-dimensional memory to basically make a map of the building, and then you get back out and your runner team goes in later to actually do it, and you have a memory of where everything was. So there's some ways that I am literally coming up with on the fly on how you can use these powers. But regardless, I really liked it. I thought they were just some fun things that you could do. I did also try to pick some things that weren't just combat oriented, because again, a lot of the powers are combat oriented. But I think there is a lot more that you can do with an adept besides just beat people up. But that's just me. So, with that said, they do also give some more adept meta magics. So basically, if you choose to initiate and get more in tune with your magic, it allows you to access some stronger powers. There are 6 new adept meta magics in Street Wyrd, compared to 2 in the core book. One of the ones I liked was Animal Attunement. Basically, it lets you make an animal companion, and I thought that was kind of fun. Basically, based on your, I believe it was initiate level, you get to, you can interact with your animal companion, see through their eyes, hear through their ears, etc. Up to that many kilometers away. So I thought that was a fun one to get. And then also item attunement. Yes. This to me was basically about making magic items. You can use your magic to take your trusty vibro katana or your lucky grappling hook. I don't know. I'm making stuff up at this point. And you get to imbue it with your magic so that when you're rolling, you actually get a bonus edge towards using that. So, bonus dice per initiate rank for mundane checks. So it can't be magic checks. It has to be, swinging the katana, something like that. But you're using this, lucky item or trusted item, and you get to get a bonus for doing that. So that is kind of a rundown on what you're going to get out of the section on adepts. Now, the next chapter I wanted to talk about is Rungs of Power. This deals with initiates for Shadowrun Sixth World. So basically, they are, quote, more powerful mages. I'm kind of joking because in the book it says they are not just more powerful mages, but for me and my experience, like I've said in previous Shadowrun videos, I'm familiar more with the lore. Not very deeply, but just kind of a lot of the broad strokes. But as far as learning the rules, I've mostly just been focusing on Sixth World. I never really got to play any of the previous editions, even though I own some of it. So to me, that's basically how I understood it. It's a way that you as a magic user can become the Shadowrun equivalent to Gandalf or some other powerful wizard. Because as you decide to become an initiate, you then get access to meta magics. Now in the core book there were 7 different meta magics, and in Street Wyrd there are 20. They are based on the schools of magic. So the first one is the Astral and Metaplanar Studies, which provides 8 different abilities. This one that I liked there was Divination. Basically, it gives you a situational edge before any surprise tests. But most of the other abilities deal with spirits or astral projection or traveling around the meta planes. The next school is Practical Conjuration. There are 5 different abilities there. Most of them deal with summoning or banishing spirits. Apotropaic magic. I don't know that word, so that one was rough. There are 3 abilities there, and mostly it's defensive magic, so like reflect, things like that. And then the next one is the School of Enchanting, which just has 1 ability, which is Resilient Artificing. Basically, it's used to protect a mage while he is making magic items. And then the final category is Applied Thaumaturgy. 3 abilities, The one I liked there was Efficient Ritual, which basically allows a mage conducting a ritual to spend half the time. A lot of the rituals I saw would deal with, do stuff over days or a month, things like that. And I'll be honest, anything to cut down that time, I'd be doing that in real life, not just in a game. So that's just me. All right. So what are some of the things that I liked about these two parts of the book? First off, I love when the designers are going to give us character content and options. Like I said, I'm not necessarily worried about balance, but giving us rules for the way things could work or should work, I do like that. I like being able to have more things I can do with my character. I like the way that they use the flavor text to enhance the description of the new abilities. They are like the adept section is basically like a document being provided by an adept. Hey, I'm an adept and this is what I do and here's how it works. And then it goes into describing the abilities. Many of the abilities even get their own piece of flavor text, and I really like that. It wasn't just, hey, here's your ability, here's how it works. Okay? Something fun. Why are people using it? Why are people doing it? I think that was a great addition. Now, I also really like the fact that there are a large number of new powers, abilities, and meta magics. The fact that in most cases you're seeing almost double the amount that were provided in the core rulebook, I think is fantastic, and I think it adds a lot of value to the book, especially if you are playing a magic user. Okay. I also really like the adept ways. The fact that, hey, here's effectively a subtype of a character type. So you've got mage, and then an adept is a subtype of a mage. Well, here's a way that you can differentiate that even more. You're not going to have the same adept every single time. Everybody's going to do something a little different because they want to play their character different, and this book gives them more options to do so. I also like the fact that the Initiate gives a karma pit for magic users to go for the phenomenal cosmic power. Sorry, I had to do that. I really like, it's magic. It's supposed to be powerful. Even in old school D&D, the wizard wasn't a great character early on, but later on they just had learned how to tap into their power structures and be more powerful and be Gandalf, be that wizard we know of from the stories. So I like that there's a way to do that in Sixth World as well. Now, a couple of things that I didn't like very much. Most of the adept powers are combat oriented. Now, I get it. In role-playing games, most of the time when we're needing powers, when we're needing abilities, it's because there's some sort of a conflict, whether it's and usually it's a physical combat. Melee, shooting, whatever it is. So gearing powers and abilities towards that, I get it. It makes sense. But I also think that Shadowrun has a lot more opportunities to do other things. Like I was saying earlier, using the ability to shapeshift, look like somebody else, sneak into the building, get the layout of the building so that you can go back with the runners later. I think there's a lot more opportunities in Shadowrun to do things like that and to need abilities that aren't necessarily used in combat. So it would have been nice to see a little bit more of that. I will admit I did not memorize all of the abilities, so maybe I missed something, but from first glance and partly reading all of the ability titles, that's what it felt like to me. Another issue I had was in the Initiate section, there was almost a full column dedicated to avatars. Now, as somebody who, at this point, I'm considering myself new to the system, I don't know what avatars are. And this was the first time that I remember seeing them referenced. And it was kind of vague and just talked about, oh, my TAs, had encounters with their avatar and they learned some stuff. And this was, like I said, it was about a column worth of content, and it should have been developed to a usable state. I don't think they did, especially to somebody like me who doesn't, I don't have the decades of Shadowrun behind me to know what an avatar is and what it's supposed to do, to kind of come up with some rules on the fly. In addition to that, at the end of the Initiate chapter, there was about half a page. So basically, it was the bottom half of the page, but effectively it's a column's worth of white space. If you've got a column's worth of white space, why not use that to develop that avatar section? Even if you're already in layout and everything's been approved, I think it could have been at least fleshed out a little bit better to develop that for somebody like me. So, overall, I have to say, I'm excited. I think these are fun things. Mages are not necessarily my type of character that I want to play. It's usually a lot more bookkeeping than I want to worry about, but I like what they're doing, and I like what they did overall. There are some hiccups. I don't think every product is perfect, even though a lot of my reviews tend to sound that way. But I think that I see what they're doing, and I like it. If you're playing a Magic user, if you're playing Shadowrun, I absolutely recommend that you pick this up, because you may not want to run a mage today, but maybe you do tomorrow. So, with that said, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, next week we will be talking about the spells and the spirits, the last couple of main sections of the book, and I'll also be giving my final thoughts on it. So tune in for that. And like I said, if you liked what I'm doing, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Not all of my content is Shadowrun related, but I do cycle back from time to time. Sometimes I bring up things that aren't even the role-playing game. So if you want to see what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel and follow along. And last thing, don't forget, link to DriveThruRPG in the bottom if you do want to pick this book up. So thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next time.